Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison. I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising as we convene our fourth of five programs on writers writing the world. It's been an extraordinary week as we close out 2024 and take a break over the holidays beginning this weekend, and then reconvening Humanity Rising on the 6th of January for a very, very full program for 2025. As we begin our program today, I want to circle back to what's going on in the skies over New Jersey and over East Anglia in the UK and over dozens of countries around the world. Some people are saying that this is the most extensive UFO, UAP sighting ever. And so this is now impinging on the national and international media. The U.S. House of Representatives convened a special session yesterday. 25 mayors in New Jersey, where it seems to be the locus of UAP activity, unidentified anomalous phenomena, have asked for, a limited state of emergency. The drone sightings began, as I recounted a couple of days ago, right about at the same time that the United States escalated nuclear tensions in Ukraine against Russia by U.S. personnel, military personnel, and British personnel shooting short-range missiles, ATACMS, and Storm Shadow missiles into Russia. And the Russians responded by sending to Ukraine a hypersonic missile that traveled at 10 times the speed of sound, Mach 10, and obliterated a major military facility, and a demonstration of technical superiority that shocked the United States and, in fact, the entire world, because the Russians now possess weapon technology and capacity that the United States is years away from being able to bring online. And all of a sudden, all these UFOs show up right over U.S. bases in East Anglia, Lakenheath, and Mildenhall, etc., where the United States has nuclear weapons, briefly over Washington, D.C., and New Jersey over military bases. According to reports, the sightings have ranged from a half a dozen to over 200 every single night. And they've been seen, as I indicated, in various parts of Europe, in Asia, in Latin America. They are being referred to in the mass media as drones. They have demonstrated capacities that are not currently known by modern physics. They can come in and out. They can be here 1 second and just not there, and then back in another point in the sky almost simultaneously. When you track them, they disappear. The lights turn off. Some of them appear as helicopters. Some of them appear like 5, 6 feet wide saucers or cigar shaped. They apparently can shapeshift. There was reports by a police officer off the coast of New Jersey who was standing on the seashore, and all of a sudden he said a couple hundred of these things came right at him, went right over his head into New Jersey. The Coast Guard reported that a PT boat that was out in the shores off of New Jersey was just shadowed by several dozen of these so-called drones. What is interesting is that whether it's been in New Jersey with the Federal Emergency Management Association, FEMA, with the FBI, with the Department of Homeland Security, with the police departments, with the Pentagon, even with the White House, nobody knows what's going on. They've seeded, these are probably Russian or Chinese drones. There was one congressional representatives yesterday that said they're Iranian. The Iranians sent over this big mothership and it's hovering over the Atlantic Ocean and they're sending out all these drones. This is all completely nonsensical. You all remember that in February of 2023, when they spotted this Chinese weather balloon 80,000 feet above the continental United States. Remember the hysteria? And now there's a couple hundred drones coming in to New Jersey and places worldwide, and nobody can identify them. Nobody can track them. They have the capacity to stay up all night, and then presto, they're gone. Why are they here? Why can't the United States government admit the obvious? Why can't any government agency make a rational and credible statement about what's even happening? And it's the inability of the governing institutions and agencies mandated by law, expected by the public to protect the public sphere and the airspace over the United States and other countries, that is giving rise to increasing concern in the public domain that the government does not know what it's doing or is in such a state of chaos they can't figure out what's going on and how to coordinate a response. One of the things that we've decided to do at Ubiquity University and through the New Paradigm Institute, and we're reaching out to partners, that we're going to convene a special global broadcast to everyone in our communities for next Thursday, December 19th, December 18th. That will bring specialists from around the world to talk about this. The one thing we know is that beginning on the very day, on July 16th, 1945, when the United States ignited the nuclear device, the first ever nuclear device near Alamogordo, New Mexico, subsequently dropping atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan, UFOs showed up. And they've appeared over nuclear bases. They've shut down aircraft carriers, not only in the United States, but worldwide. Warning the human community that we need to stop our nuclear weapons and our nuclear power proliferation. And we need to stop our decimation of the environment. It's the most consistent pattern around UAP in the last 80 years. And now, just when the United States escalates the tension toward nuclear war, and the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist tells us that we're closer to nuclear war now than at any time since the beginning of the nuclear age. We're only 90 seconds to midnight. We're having the most extensive UAP sightings in history. And we need to understand that it's going on. We need to understand what they're trying to communicate. And we need to take counsel together as to how the human race needs to respond to this crisis with the most extraordinary opportunity in all of human history. And that is to use our cosmic contact as a catalyst to transform human relations and humanity's relationship with the larger ecosystem, both terrestrial and cosmic. So we'll keep everybody posted over the next couple of days as we organize everything that needs to be organized for this broadcast. But this is an extraordinary moment, everybody, that we all should note. So thank you for joining Humanity Rising. It's always a pleasure. And now I would like to bring on Jennifer Browdy, who has been the one convening this week. Jennifer, thank you so much. You've had 3 and now 4 really stellar individuals and authors who are using their writing to right the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, it's been a really wonderful week here, and I'm so glad to see that what are starting to be familiar faces among the audience. So welcome to everybody, and I hope that this week has been as stimulating for you as it has been for me. So today we are going to hear from Cynthia Jurs, who is, I'll give her a brief introduction. She became a Dharma teacher in the Order of Interbeing of Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh in 1994. And in 2018, she was made an honorary Lama in the Vajrayana tradition of Tibetan Buddhism in recognition of her dedication in carrying out the Earth Treasure Vase practice. And we're going to be talking a lot about that today. Inspired by 30 years of pilgrimage into diverse communities and ecosystems, today, Cynthia is forging a new path of Dharma in service to Gaia, a path deeply rooted in the feminine, honoring indigenous cultures, and devoted to collective awakening. And she is the founder of the Gaia Mandala Network, which we are also going to be discussing. And she's published in the past year a beautiful memoir, Summoned by the Earth, which really recounts, the subtitle is Becoming a Holy Vessel for Healing Our World. And it really recounts this, what we were talking about yesterday with Manda, the inner work connecting to the outer work in the world and becoming a holy vessel or a portal for the energies of Gaia and the cosmos to work through us to make our world better. And if that's what the drones and UAPs are here to prompt us and push us to do, then I'm cheering them on. That's what we need. So, yeah, Cynthia, do you want to come on? Welcome.
Hi, Jennifer.
Welcome.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
So we have, we have about almost 90 people in the audience, and there will be many more checking out the recording. So it's a wonderful opportunity to share this work. And I feel like you are somewhat of a pollinator. Like I think of you as a marvelous butterfly or bee going throughout the world. Yeah, pollinating this special medicine that you bring. And it's a medicine that comes right up through the earth, and that you found originally, or was gifted to you originally in the earth, in a cave in the earth, right? And you've taken it out into the world in such a beautiful way, in a way that you call a spiritual pilgrimage, right? So we have been talking about how to move intentionally and purposefully from what Francis Weller called a trauma culture to a culture of initiation. And to me, it seems like you have been modeling that for us and also helping others to find their way. So I'd love it if we could start out by just talking, if you could talk us through your practice of spiritual pilgrimage and initiation, and how it works for you and how it might work for others.
Wow. Thank you. It's such a joy and an honor to be here with you today, and following on the heels of some of my beloved sisters in the world, writing and speaking and doing what they're doing. I'm kind of reeling a little bit from what Jim shared. And of course, I think most of us realize without all that new information that we're in a moment on the earth and in our lives. And as this great unraveling is occurring during the great turning, as Joanna Macy would say. And so I guess I'd kind of like to just stop for a second, Jennifer, and just take a breath and invite everyone to just come into this present moment. Okay, we've heard all this. We know there's a lot happening on a lot of levels that are some unseen and some seen. And the powers that be are grappling with maintaining that power, and we are trying to find our way. So before I answer your question, if you and everyone would just join me in taking a moment to let that reality just settle for a minute and come into our hearts, come into our experience of being here together. It's a precious opportunity to really reflect on that bigger picture and find our way, and I think that so often we're in reaction to what is going on around us and what we're hearing in the media and all this stuff, and it's so intense that it's really helpful to take a breath. Just take a breath. And when we do, we are conspiring, literally. We may not know the answers, but we are conspiring when we take a conscious breath and come back to that place within us that is where the clarity comes for what to do, how to respond, and the response versus the reaction. So initiation culture and pilgrimage, I had this amazing opportunity to go to meet a 106-year-old Lama living in a cave in Nepal in 1990. And as I was walking up the path, I realized that I had the opportunity to ask him a question, the proverbial old wise man in the cave. And what came to me was to ask about, what do we do to bring healing and protection to the earth? That's my guiding question, and it came through loud and clear in that moment. And that has been, the sort of operating principle of my life. I received this ancient practice coming from Tibet, 8th century Tibet, to work with what are called earth treasure vases or earth treasure vases, depending on how you say it, filling these little holy vessels with offerings that are connected to our prayers and intentions and wishes for healing, protection, renewal, balance, harmony, peace in the world. And then when they're filled, they're buried in the earth like a seed in places that are calling for that. And of course, everywhere is calling for it. So I've traveled all around the planet over these 30 plus years since I received this practice, and had the incredible opportunity of making relations with elders, indigenous, cultures, activists, regular folks who all have shared in this prayer, this calling, this summons to respond to the earth in these times, which I feel is our assignment. So the practice of opening ourselves as holy vessels to get out of our own way, and all our big ideas about what we think is going to be the answer, and to come back to what is ours to do, because we each have a gift, an offering. Our lives, every single one of us is important, and we're all needed today to make the kinds of change and transformation that is called for in the world, because this is not the time. We've gone past the time of the individual who's going to save us. You know, the Buddha, the Jesus, the whoever it is, you know, or the great leaders of our countries. So a new, you know, this unraveling is taking us into completely new territory. We're going to have to redefine everything. And we need to get creative to do that. But that's one of our gifts, you know, as humans. So I don't know if that, you know, completely answers your question, but tell me where you want to go next.
Yeah, of course. So I think it came up already in our talks this week about how Thich Nhat Hanh said the next Buddha is going to be a Sangha. And I think I'm hearing you say that in this idea of going beyond the individual hero's journey. And, you know, as a writer and as a memoirist and somebody who teaches memoir, that is often a very singular journey, like you're talking about your life. And what I think is very interesting in your book is that it's so, there's so many people in it. Like you are telling us the story of your life, but also so many others who come together with you and are on this quest, this mythic quest with you. And I think that may have been part of the pollinating assignment, that I don't know if your old wise man in the cave knew that, but somehow he sent you off in that direction. Yeah.
He knew, I think he did know something, you know. He certainly knew something I didn't know, because I was just waltzing through my life at that point, not really knowing what the heck I was doing. And I got this assignment and it was like, you know, you do this. And I took it on in a way that many people have been surprised about because of my long-term devotion to carrying it out. But it's because of what's happening in the world that I feel compelled, you know. And my great teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, did say, you know, and I was there when he said it the first time. It felt prophetic, and it was, you know, the next Buddha will be a Sangha, meaning the next awakened being is going to be a community. And it's not just this one person idea, that we're all in this together. And we know that. We know that from the internet. We know that from how small the world has become and how we know each other all over the place, and how if we are practicing meditation, we come into this experience of interbeing, as Thich Nhat Hanh would say. We, you know, the separation between self and other really does dissolve. And so that, and then also in the Dharma, we have the notion of what we call bodhicitta, which is the wish to be of benefit to others, not just ourselves. And this is really one of the things that's at the root of all the problems in the world, you know, is the selfishness and the self-centered identification with just me, you know. And so that begins to fall away when we enter into this and open that portal of a larger view, you know. And I want to go back to something related to what Jim said, because he's talking about nuclear war and nuclear weapons and all of that. And that was really one of my guiding questions on how in terms of what I asked the old Lama, why, you know, I asked the old Lama because the process of making and using and, you know, generating nuclear weapons is very poisonous to the earth in all ways, you know. And I live in Santa Fe near the Los Alamos National Lab, where the first weapons were created and are still being created. And that was, that awareness was really rising in me at the time that I met the old Lama, and it was deeply concerning, as it is today, you know. And so, but it's so overwhelming. The need to address these huge issues is so overwhelming that most of us, when we look into it, we want to look away, because we can't possibly, you know, I'm just this big in the scheme of things. But together we are strong, as they say in Congo, one of the places that I visited. And when that portal opens in our consciousness, we begin to see a bigger picture. We begin to reside in a place within ourselves that's not conditioned by the dominant culture. And I think this is the place we need to move into together in order to find the solutions that are going to birth the new chapter of the evolution of life on Earth. That it's not going to come from inside the same old system that doesn't work anymore. So what is that? And there's ways that we can create the conditions for that. And the Dalai Lama is another one who says, it's not enough to pray. It's not enough to just sit on our cushion and, hope, or having those hopes and intentions is a beautiful place to begin. But he said, we have to work. So once we find that source within that can guide us and inform us in new ways, then we need to turn, as I have a film that I made called Turning Prayer into Action. We need to turn those prayers into action. And he said that when we were filming with him. So these are some of the guiding principles, and I think we've got to overcome our old habits very deeply and move into new ways of being. And meditation, it should be about waking up, not about going to sleep. So it's helpful to calm ourselves down, but it's also very helpful to clarify the way that we engage with each other and with the world. Anyway, maybe I'm jumping around a little bit, but
No, I think so. There's something about leaning in and welcoming the not knowing, and not having to have it all figured out. And I think that's what when you accepted that assignment from the old Lama, you didn't know, had never seen an earth treasure vase, you didn't know the practice. And there was a certain amount of trust, like just trust that the guidance will come as needed. And that kind of guidance, I think is what we're searching for in meditation. But it's a paradoxical thing, because it's active, but it's also receptive. Does that make sense? Like you can't, when you talk about getting out of the way of our own egos and letting the ego fall away, and the ego is what we use to do things in the world, and to like move ourselves in some direction in the world. And yet it's not really helping in this context today. It's almost, we need to source our actions someplace else. And I think you're pointing us towards that other place.
Well, if we want to align with others for the betterment of life on Earth, this is a new path. We haven't really, a little bit here and there individually, of course, but in today's world, we're being asked to move into a wholly different way of operating. And so the ways that we've done things isn't working, it's just continuing to take us into this kind of like really downward spiral now, right? And so how do we move forward in a new way? I don't think in a lot of ways, I don't think we even know what to do. And that was certainly true for me with the Earth Treasure Vases. Like, okay, I got these little holy vessels. What do I do with them? And how do I work with them? And where do I take them? And, like I remember when I realized at one point fairly early on, I was going to have to go all over the world to cover the earth with these prayers and offerings. you know, to embrace the planet, the whole planet, with our love and caring. And there were places like, for example, in Africa, this practice is nothing close to what they do in Africa. How would it be received? Where would I go? You know, and I would look at the map of the world and spin the globe and go, you know, and then how am I going to get to Congo, for example? You know, I knew I had to go to Congo, and that's another story. Maybe we can talk about it, but you know, I had to learn how to operate in a different way, because the rational mind would say, oh, well, you need to go here, 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 and here, and you need to do this, 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 and this. And I would try to do that. And 9 times out of 10, I would get, you know, thwarted. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't flow. But when I got out of the way and open to something so much larger than myself, which I now consider to be Gaia herself, and this whole web of life that we are just this little part of, but an intimate part of, then if I had an intention, let's say Congo, that is something that I would feed with my awareness and my intention. And then I would start to watch how things would open up, how little, you know, messages would come in, or someone would call and say, do you want to meet so and so, or the you know, the perfect next thing to create the conditions for that to actually happen would fall into place. And I think many of us have had the experience of how sometimes what we do flows so effortlessly, and sometimes it doesn't. And I think when we're in harmony with the web of life and with all our relations and ourselves, things do move in a way that is, you know, effortless and graceful. Whereas when we try too hard, we get hung up in our own way, we make problems, you know, it just doesn't go the same way. So learning how to listen with a much wider view is, and keep coming back to that. So again, it's like, how do I feed that spirit of what I want to see in the world? How do I feed myself in such a way that I don't keep making the same mistakes over and over? And if we can stop making the same mistakes over and over and come into a different way of operating, I think the world will open up in a new way for us, and that we're in on the cusp of that. So let's not lose sight of that, even when things are really terrible, really falling apart. The falling apart is facilitating something new to happen.
Yeah, Nina Simons was talking about composting, you know, as a metaphor for decomposition and regeneration, and that we need to compost what is no longer serving us. And part of what is no longer serving us is this kind of rational, masculine, aggressive, direct, goal-oriented, all of that kind of practice. And this is one of the things that's come out very strongly in your book, and I think it has to do with your finding and listening to and heeding Gaia, right? What's come out very strongly is your elevation of the feminine in your work, your practice, what you put out into the world, and who you are as a rare Buddhist Dharma teacher and Lama, right? So I'd love you to talk more about how that has unfolded for you over time, this sort of reawakening of the feminine and blossoming in you and in the world.
Mm.
Mm.
Well, I'm just searching for how to begin. I think in my Dharma life, in my Buddhist Dharma life, I was always kind of yearning for a little bit more of the feminine inside of these systems, which I find very inspiring, the teachings of the Buddha Dharma. But often they're very patriarchal, traditionally, going back, a long, long time. And I think that's true in many spiritual traditions, actually. And so the hierarchy just feels like something that is kind of getting in the way of us moving into this new way of operating. And so I was kind of always coming back to sitting in the circle, recognizing that everyone has Buddha nature, everyone has wisdom and compassion. It's one of our great gifts as human beings. And that, the awakening that the Buddha pointed to is something that is within everyone. And I was also always yearning for more of a connection to the earth. So I found the Dharma teachings very mind oriented, and kind of missing the embodied quality of spiritual experience that is found in many indigenous teachings and other kinds of forms of spiritual awakening. So in all of that is a connection to what is often referred to as the feminine in all of us, right? And the earth is so often seen, and I really do feel, like the earth is a pretty powerful feminine force. And we've gotten very far away from that feminine force that nature expresses so beautifully and powerfully, and which indigenous cultures are still very connected to, and in which our hierarchical, patriarchal cultures or traditions have gotten so far away from. And I really came through carrying out the treasure vases around the world, I came to really appreciate the connection between the abuse of the earth and the abuse of women, and how they are intimately connected and epidemic, And I myself have a history of sexual abuse, which was always very deeply hidden, until I couldn't hide it anymore. I couldn't go on without having to come to terms with my own history. And it was very liberating to do so. And the statistics are 1 in 3 women around the whole world, every street corner, every culture, every country, continent, whatever, have experienced this. So when we see the connection between the earth and ourselves, we recognize one of the deep core wounds that is propelling the problems in a way that's unsustainable for life, because we are carrying life on earth and nurturing life on earth. But I wanted to mention that you referred to the sort of the active and the receptive qualities of the masculine and the feminine. And I think it dawned on me when I was carrying out the treasure vases, how you have this little clay pot, and it is actually very womb-like, it's this kind of vehicle, this vessel to receive our offerings and our prayers and our intentions. And it really started to remind me of the union of the masculine and the feminine, And so this open, receptive vessel with the active principle coming in, making this offering. And then what comes from that? Then you have to go and take this little holy vessel once it's full and dig a hole in the earth and place it in there. So again, it's like inseminating the earth with the seed, literally. And, this is all very metaphoric on one level, but on another level, it's not. And so both of those principles are needed to bring life forward. And I know in myself, I have both. We all do, the receptive and the active. but our culture and our way of living has dominated in this the active principle has dominated so completely that the receptive principle has been really neglected, to put it mildly. And so coming into balance with these elements and making offerings is a beautiful way of doing that, you know? And this is a practice that indigenous peoples teach us. It's also found in the Buddhist traditions as well. I think it's found in so many traditions, you know, to remember to invite the presence of the holy ones, you know, to invite a relationship with Mother Earth, Lover Earth, as Charles Eisenstein would say, with the forces of the natural world. Maybe even, given Jim's earlier words, maybe even, you know, like the cosmic forces who are concerned about our activities here on the brink of such destruction, you know? And so regardless of what our belief systems are, or we all can recognize that there is imbalance. And so what do we do to restore that balance in ourselves, in our relationships, and in our world?
For you, it becomes a daily practice. Like, I think in conventional religion, it's often like, okay, Sunday morning, we're going to go and think about the sacred for a couple hours, and then the rest of the week, everything's secular, and we're not really paying much attention. We're listening to the news and being reactive, and so I think some you're pointing us towards a practice that doesn't have a beginning or end, that has to be really totally integrated into every moment, and that mirrors the way Gaia functions. Like, Gaia is a matrix. It's the great unity. It doesn't have a beginning or end. And if the more that we can merge our consciousness into that greater consciousness, the more we'll get into the flow, and things will happen. Like, I you know, people talk about miracles in a woo-woo disparaging way, but miracles happen, and your book certainly recounts a number of miracles. I don't know if there's any that comes to mind at this moment, a story you'd like to tell. There are several in that book.
Well, life itself is a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Every moment is a miracle if we can stop long enough to realize it, you know? And the way nature unfolds is a miracle. I'm just hearing jets overhead. Can you hear that?
Yes.
I live in the country and we don't get that very often. I don't know.
Mm.
It's those military people, I think.
Mm.
Right here. Anyway, yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought there with that. That was a little intense.
Well, I
But
was thinking, the one that I was thinking of, just in case you want to use it, is when you fell off the path. You
oh
know,
my,
that's
yeah.
such a powerful moment.
I mean, yes, okay, I'll go there. And just to say that when we step back and connect with our own true nature, you know, little every day, we are creating the conditions for miracles to happen, for the sacred to enter our daily life. And then things start to unfold in a way that is conducive to these changes that are needed to rebalancing our world. And you know, as I was making my way with the treasure vases around the world, my own practice was shifting, because I began to see that really the earth and the systems of the earth and all the living beings are such an incredible embodiment of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, the teacher, the teachings, and the community. Like it's all there. And you don't have to look outside of yourself for some great teacher or guru to connect with that. That it happens every time we go outside and put our back against a tree or walk along the shore, we come back to our connection to our own true nature. And this is something that, I feel is helpful for all of us. We don't have to be a Buddhist, we don't have to be Christian or Muslim or Jew. We can just all recognize our connection there and be guided by that, and be restored by that. So I was grappling with this when I went back to Nepal, back to the cave where it all began, where I met the old Lama. And on that trip, I was made a Lama. And I hold that title very loosely because by that time I had really begun to shift my allegiance, really, from the guru and the lineage, although I honor and love and deeply draw from it. My guru is Gaia. It's like she's it. And I was looking for how to formalize that in a practice that would help me stay connected in that way and not have to rely on some system that was in need of reform, that has abuse, that is problematic in some fundamental ways. And so I became a Lama, and I was concerned that I couldn't uphold it in the same way that I might if I were still as deeply involved in the system. And I was grappling with this all the way up to the very last day of that pilgrimage. And it rained in the night, the path was slippery, and I fell over the edge of this path up at, 12,000 feet up altitude, down, and the thousands of feet down into the ravine. There was nothing stopping me. And I left my body immediately as I was tumbling head over heels down this hill. And I came to, and I realized there was nothing stopping me, let my body again. And then I thought it was over. That was going to be my end. And all of a sudden I came to a screeching halt on the side of this slippery mountain. And there was nothing stopping me. It's just like I came to a stop. And I was spread-eagled on the side of the mountain, and I didn't actually have any broken bones. I was banged up, but I was okay. I wasn't paralyzed, and I was alive. But I couldn't get up to the top, and I had to call for help. And I was thrown a rope with a rock on it by a Sherpa porter who heard me, thank goodness. And I caught the rope, which was another miracle, and he helped me up. But for weeks, I was puzzled by what stopped me. And the guiding Lama, who is part of my life, who was there on that trip and who helped craft the treasure vases originally and all of that, he said it was Tara, it was the Buddha, it was Guru Rinpoche, and I was like, yeah, well, I didn't have the experience directly of one of them coming to me in that moment. What was it? And it wasn't until a couple of weeks had passed and I was home and I was recovering that I realized it was the earth that caught me. It was Gaia, who literally, I could feel her hands on my back going, you're with me. You're not going down that mountain, not yet. And I need you. And by that time, I had developed this practice of the Sublime Mother Gaia with a new mantra and a new visualization that was arising out of my experience with Tara, but was a different practice altogether. And I had been afraid to bring it forward because of how I would be criticized by the tradition and the lamas. But I knew after that that I had to bring it forward. I had to share all this. So I did, and I brought the book out, and I am talking about it and teaching it, and the response has been amazing because so many of us are hungry for that connection. You know, we've gotten so far away, as we've said over and over here. We've gotten so far away, but it's right there. It's in the next breath. Our connection to the web of life, our connection to the source within that is part of the earth, part of the living life force energy of Mother Earth, where we can engage in a way that is in support of life and not destruction.
Yeah, the image that was coming to me as you're talking about birthing a new and ancient form of the sacred relationship with the earth is of a seed cracking. So like the rigidity of the Buddhist traditions over the past thousands of years, and they need to open in order to continue to evolve. And it seems to me that you are a pivotal agent in that evolution, because it's true. I mean, I'm not a Buddhist, but I have studied Buddhism, and I have students who are Buddhists, who have some women students who have talked to me about, how they feel as women in Buddhist traditions. And they're not respected, and there's no real path for them. And these are, highly intelligent women who are studying in the West. That's how I meet them. And they don't know, they love their religion, but they don't know where to go with it. So I think you are providing a path here. You're opening a new path with Gaia, you and Gaia. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit more about the Gaia Mandala network and what that work is doing?
Mm-hmm.
One could get involved.
Yeah, I mean, it is like a seed opening, Jennifer, and we need to plant new seeds in every direction. And thank goodness for those who are literally doing that, But I'm just doing my part as best I can, and it's not easy because, we're up against a lot of resistance. But I love the image of the seed opening too, and the seed opens in the darkness of the dark, deep soil. And that's where that new life comes from. And that new life is needed all over the world in all these different ways. And the Earth Treasure Vases have taken me into all these different places all over the world, each one calling for transformation and healing in different ways. And so the Gaia Mandala has come about as a result of taking the treasure vases all over the world, making relations with people and communities in these different parts of the world, and sharing the practice with those who also want to steward an earth treasure vase somewhere, who are called, who are summoned from inside themselves to engage with this kind of practice, and with this relationship to Mother Gaia in these times, knowing that these times are calling us forward in new ways. So the Gaia Mandala is kind of operating on two levels. One is a global community that is comes together to practice in different ways on a regular basis. We have a full moon meditation, which is the meditation that we do to invoke all the locations of where the treasure vases have gone all around the world and keep them alive. And we visualize a kind of web of light around the planet with each node of the mandala, spreading out the prayers that are connected in the seed, which that treasure vase is, as well as getting in touch with our own selves as nodes on that incredible web that is, that we are connected to and strengthening through our intentions, through our prayers, through our, engagement. And then the treasure vases continue to go out into different places around the world. And you can learn about that through the Gaia Mandala website. The stories are there. We talk about them on the full moon. And then we also have mindfulness practices. We have regular group for that. We have a regular group of people who have received the transmission for the teaching of the Sublime Mother Gaia from me that we cultivate on a monthly basis as well. And then pilgrimages and retreats and things like that going on as well. So there's a lot there to plug into and be supported, because we all need support in making these kinds of changes and getting in touch with what is our offering, what is our gift, what is our calling. And that's really the main point, So there's that level of it. And then there's the well, I guess I was going to say a little more about the sort of web of light that is this mandala, that now that there's close to 90 earth treasure vases in the ground all around the world, there's kind of this feeling of this global healing force that's operating in the ground, but also has an energetic spiritual dimension that we can also plug into, but also it feels as if potentially this global mandala is coming alive as a whole, like what is this that has been created? And I think there's many spiritual traditions who have done kind of similar things, over the millennia. And there's prophecies and there's all this kind of, if we open to something we can't define with our rational mind, and yet we can feel it. We can use it as a resource to take refuge, as we would say in the Buddha Dharma, take refuge in this incredible I don't even know, words are kind of falling short, but awareness that there's something larger than us operating here, which is taking form. The seeds are sprouting, and these seeds are dedicated to the good. They are dedicated to the beauty, to the incredible creative force of life on earth that is stronger and more beautiful than anything we can even imagine, And so what is that for you? How can we strengthen that for in these times of great change, and rest in that? It's like, I think we have to be very careful of not falling prey and feeding into the problems too much. It's important to be aware and to be smart, but also to turn our awareness to what we want to see, the beauty, the joy, the transformation that is within each of us as as our offering to restoring balance in the world.
What a beautiful statement of purpose here. Yes, I so agree with you that we need to be, and as much as possible, emanate what we want to see more of in the world.
Embody.
Embody. And it will grow. That light grows stronger. Each of us being a node and a beacon for others, Yeah.
And to take care of ourselves in the process, because part of the imbalance is how we have sacrificed ourselves over and over, and how we have, by extension, sacrificed the living systems of the earth, and whole peoples, as we can see in the wars that are taking place right now. So that's not okay. And we have to start with ourselves to sustain the balance in our own lives in order to feed this spirit we want to see. And trust that it is happening.
It is happening.
It is.
It is. And humanity rising is one of those places. It's a node. It's an important node.
There you go. Yeah.
Connects a lot of people, as does Gaia Mandala. And all of these people that you brought together that are represented in the book. And I think it's your community is one of the few truly global communities. I mean, I think you've been to every continent. Is that right? Yeah.
It's either me or those in the community who have also gone, I mean, like, I didn't go every single place, but I went to a lot of them. And now there's others. So it's like, the collective. And thank you. It's been amazing. It really has been a miracle. Like, I didn't do this. I swear, I did not set out to create this thing. It has emerged. So it is, an example of what happens when you form an intention, then get out of the way, and then just watch what happens. And I'm sorry I haven't really spoken too much directly about the book. But the book has a lot of amazing stories that illustrate all of this. And it's more than a memoir. I mean, it's my story, but it's also the story of the evolution of this practice and how it's gone, and the importance of it in the world today. So I really appreciate you, seeing that.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. It's a gorgeous book. Oh, people are buying the book in the chat.
Well, I'm gonna just hold it up. Here it is, everyone. It is a gorgeous book. I'm so proud of it. And Jennifer, you took an early read of it and helped me see a few things I needed to do to make it better along the way. So I do hope everyone will buy it. It's also an audiobook that I have read, which was a fabulous experience to read it cover to cover. And I hope that people will get involved. And, our next full moon is coming up on the 15th.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. I can feel Jim wanting to come back in here and get into the conversation. There he is. Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Thank you, Cynthia. Very much, very inspiring and elevating conversation. And I have your book on my shelf. I read it into last year. Whenever was it? Earlier this year that it came out? I don't remember. It wasn't.
It was in March that it came out, and I was in Washington, D.C., and we saw each other.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And I think, anyway.
Well, I wanted to both say it was a fascinating read, and I wanted to have you further elaborate on the one aspect of the book that I just found quite extraordinary, and that is the cascade of synchronicities that have really taken over your life since the time of the commitment to do the vases. And I'd love to have you speak to us about your experience of synchronicity and the kind of the spiritual logic or workings of synchronicity once one's personal intent is aligned with the intent, shall we say, of Gaia, because I think that's a profoundly important indicator of whether one is in the flow or not. So talk to us about synchronicity.
It totally is. Thank you for that prompt, because that's another sign that we're on the path, that we're in the flow, that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, is when those synchronicities start to happen, and I think we
Give us
miss.
a couple examples from the book, because you got a lot, but
Well, oh
there is
God,
some.
I get so, it has been such a global healing practice, right? That I sometimes get really like I can't even remember, there's been so much, but let me think for a sec. I mean, I know that I had a moment when I mean, this is just picking one out of the air. There's so many, but going to Africa was a big moment for me, taking the treasure vases to that continent and trying to figure out where to go and how to do it. It was like, this is over my head, but I knew I had to go. And I formed that intention, and then I started to just open to it. And maybe some of you know who Dina Metzger is. Well, Dina is an old friend and mentor in a way of mine, and she knew about the practice. And, within a very short amount of time of realizing, oh, we got to go to Africa, Dina invited me to bring a treasure vase to a ceremony with a group called the Everyday Gandhis that she was part of, doing peace building work in Liberia. I mean, I didn't even know where Liberia was. And I came to this event in California that had a lot of people from Liberia in the circle. They've just come out of this very terrible civil war. And everyone is praying for peace into this treasure vase, and I'm ringing the bell and, just holding space for this possibility. But the treasure vase went all the way around the circle, and I realized, oh, I guess I have to go to Liberia. And then it just started to fall into place, and I mean, I met this gentleman, this is a chapter in the book about the sound of the bell in Africa. And he was a former rebel general who was who had chosen to turn to peace building and was with this group. And he heard the sound of the bell. He asked me to teach him how to meditate. And I thought, you've got to be kidding. You? Me? Really? And then he wouldn't leave me alone. And I have now had a over, decade and a half relationship with him. And he has completely transformed his life. He will never pick up a gun again. If it's possible for someone like that to make this kind of change, anything is possible.
Mm.
Same thing happened when I was spinning the globe and there was Congo, and it was like my finger would keep landing on this globe would turn to the same place. Now that's a synchronicity, it wasn't turning to, anywhere else but the heart of Africa. And I was like, I don't really want to go there, do I? Do I have to go there? Yeah, you do. You do.
Yeah,
It's the rape capital of the world, unfortunately, and it's a beautiful place. And I had to go. And so as soon as I thought, okay, well, I'll go with Eve Ensler, or I'll go with this person or that who have connections there. No, I had to do it myself. And once I realized nobody was going to help me, but that there was something bigger operating here, then it lined up. Then I met Nema Namadamu. And she said, come, my sister, I will help you.
Beautiful.
I mean, these things just happen. I got goosebumps just telling you that. And, sitting in Australia in a circle with the woman who became my adopted mother, Auntie Margaret Catherine, from Aboriginal Arnhem Land in Northern Territory, Australia. And she adopted all of us and made us family. And that strengthened the Gaia Mandala community, because now we're connected as a family through her. And when the treasure vase went into the ground, there in her territory, it was like all those song lines connecting each node on the mandala came to life. And it was like, oh my God. And we were in a circle and I was speaking, and, I was just talking about some personal thing, but there was a circle of us in this pilgrimage group with her. And in the moment that I was talking, this branch fell down into the center of the circle. And she said to my adopted brother, Jeremy, who was sitting next to her, go pick that up. That's medicine for your sister. And we would, generally speaking, we would ignore that. Oh, like that was just a branch happening to fall in the middle of the circle. Well, no. To her, it's speaking to me. It's medicine for me. I need that. And I need to not ignore that. And there's things like that that happen day in and day out, the wind rustling in the trees or the birds singing just at that moment, that fighter jet flying over my house while we were talking today. What was that? That was an echo of what you were talking about in the beginning, Jim. And, I live here right across from the Los Alamos National Lab, and Sandia is down the pike.
Oh boy. So you're at the heart of the heart.
That's right. So, I do, we have to pay attention. We have to pay attention to all those signs and omens and synchronicities. And when they start happening, it's like, wake up.
Yeah.
Wake up.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me turn to another, I think, seminal domain in terms of my learning from you. And that is the comments that you're making about transcending your lineage to a particular male lineage coming out of Tibet, in your case, to understanding that the lineage and the guru is Gaia. I think that that's profound, and I want to ask this in relationship to the comment that most people associate with the Dalai Lama, although it's been said by number that the next Buddha is going to be the Sangha. But that's really still human-centric. And I think that you're taking it to a deeper and more fundamental level, particularly at a moment when the human race is so disconnected from Gaia that nothing less than Gaia is who we need to lead us
Right.
at this moment. And so I just wanted to really appreciate that, and just to say that has been an inspiration for me through you to realize, particularly in Washington, D.C., where I live and reside, where everything is human-centric. Everything is America-centric within being human-centric. And everything is in the hierarchical orders of power. And to just step out of that little box
Go
and
for a
go
walk
back,
in
go
the
to
park.
ground is an extraordinary journey. And would love to have you tell us a little bit more about how that awareness began to dawn in you, and how it's unfolded, and how Gaia has led you.
Well, there's a whole seminar there, I suppose, but it's really important to realize that we're not separate from Gaia.
Yeah, we are Gaia.
We're not. We're part of the web of life,
Yeah.
each and every one of us, and every tree and every bird and every, river and forest and culture and community. So when we can see that, we realize that, we have volition, we have a creative responsibility to the whole. And so to wake up to that, and the Buddhist teachings are all about awakening, you know. So I don't know, Jim. It's like carrying the treasure vases out around the world, having to listen to the earth going, where now, where next? It really worked me because I had to listen to something so much larger than myself. And in this case, it was the earth. It was the earth. Whether it's the waters or the trees or the forest in Congo, yeah, it was a lot about the women, but it was also about the forest because that's the second largest rainforest in the world in Congo. It's being clear cut for our minerals that fuel our cell phones. And so protecting those forests. Osprey, who you're going to have tomorrow, I introduced Osprey to Nema, this woman in Congo, who helped me. And when I was there, I spoke about when we went with the treasure vase into the forest. I spoke to the Pygmy people about the need to protect their forests, which they didn't know. That the air we breathe is dependent on their trees, and so then Osprey came in and started teaching Nema's women about tree planting. And that's a project that goes on.
So that was through you. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's a synchronicity.
That's a synchronicity. Exactly. And it's just like you put 1 and 2 together and you go for the next one, So it's like that, Gaia is our greatest source. Without the earth, without the living systems of the earth, we all die. We're gone, everything.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, our beautiful gurus and masters and elders and ancestors and lineage master, we are so grateful, right? And today we need to have this relationship with the earth alive, a relationship of gratitude and respect and devotion. Those are all the ways in which we engage our spiritual life, right?
Yeah.
Our devotion, our respect, our gratitude, our honoring of her. And it's honoring her in you and in you and in myself and in all life, the trees behind me, the dog at my feet,
Yeah.
Whatever form it takes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's a great read, everyone. I mean, it's a true story that reads like a novel.
Thank you. It is. It's a page turner, I think. I mean, I tried to make it that, but it really has been.
Yeah.
Anyway,
You had as they say, a weird and wonderful life. It's an extraordinary journey, an odyssey. I mean, this is should be like a Hollywood blockbuster movie. It's like Around the World in 80 Days, or, Around the World with the Sacred Vases. It would be a great Hollywood production.
sometimes I have felt a bit like Frodo, honestly,
Yeah,
like with
totally,
the ring,
totally.
and having to go to Mordor and into the darkness and around the world and keep at it. And there's Sam going, you could do it.
Yeah.
But we're in it together and we need each other more and more. That Thich Nhat Hanh's command really of the next Buddha will be a Sangha is really, inviting all of us to rise for life.
Yeah. And to this point about Gaia, one of the things that we've been emphasizing at Ubiquity University and also with our partnership with the New Paradigm Institute around the whole extraterrestrial phenomenon is that just like the Earth communicates, the ETs are coming down to Earth right at the moment of maximum duress, and they're both saying the same thing: transform your relations and re-enter the web of life. And so we've talked a lot about what we call learning to speak the mother tongue.
Mm.
And we are starting courses in January, actually, so that people en masse can learn how to engage in intelligible communication with the ETs. And by the way, the cross species communication, interspecies communication, if you can communicate with trees or your dog or dolphins or butterflies or your plants, any human that learns the mother tongue and learns how to communicate with another sentient being outside the human species can also communicate with extraterrestrials, because it's all the mother tongue. Gaia isn't just Earth. Gaia is cosmic, right? And so it's a very exciting moment in the university and in various other places where we're realizing that in some ways the fundamental challenge for humanity at this moment is to learn the mother tongue and
Mm.
to learn ET and
Mm.
to really engage in expanding our consciousness and elevating our internal frequencies up to the seventh and even the eighth paradigm, above our heads, because that's our antenna by and through which we communicate with the rest of the cosmos.
Mhm.
And so what you're doing is so deliciously on time for humanity.
Thank you. I love the mother tongue idea. That is really speaking to me. And, I'm going to be teaching the Gaia practice, the Sublime Mother Gaia practice. I don't have the dates yet, but I will. So
Oh, we'll get you
everybody,
on and you can talk
yeah,
about that for a session. I would love to promote that.
that would be great. But I was going to say, we're also in the Gaia Mandala, this community. We're really listening now to what does the Gaia Mandala of all these treasure vase locations want us to know?
Yeah,
What is
exactly.
the next step in our evolutionary journey with this whole practice at this time, that the mandala in relationship to all this is inviting us into? And so maybe we can talk about that too. I'd love to share the practice with all of you that we do.
Oh, would
There's the
love
Gaia
that.
practice, but there's also the full moon meditation, which really does invoke all the locations. So it'd be really interesting to have your feedback once you hear all those locations and do the visualization that we do every full moon. If you feel to enter into that exploration, that could be really
Cool. Let's
kind
do
of
it.
magnificent.
Yeah. I think
Mother
that
tongue.
what's really up for humanity is to transition our notion of human supremacy to the notion of sacred reciprocity.
Mm, good one. Yeah, yeah.
If you think about it in its most fundamental, that's what's up for humanity. We have to get over ourselves. It's like a second Copernican revolution. And
What
I
was it?
attribute that by
What did you say? Human
transition from human superiority to
superiority.
sacred reciprocity.
Yeah.
And I would attribute that to Lynn Twist.
Okay.
I
That's
first heard
beautiful.
her say that. And when she said it, I just immediately said, yes, that's the
Yes,
challenge.
that's
That's what we've
perfect.
got to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're doing it. You're doing
Thank you.
it in
Thank
a
you.
profound and beautifully elegant way. It's extraordinary, everyone, when you see Cynthia with her vase, hiding them all
Yeah.
over the world.
Yeah, it's been such an amazing journey, Jim. And
Totally,
I've
man.
known you for a long time, since the 1980s. So
Yeah,
it's great to be with you today and to be cultivating all of this
yeah,
together. And yeah,
yeah. Great
let's
stuff.
learn that mother tongue. Let's make our offerings each in our own way,
Yeah.
um, it's all needed. It's all part of the evolution. Yeah.
Good. Thank you, Cynthia. Jennifer, do you want to say a word about tomorrow? and then we'll wrap up.
Well, I think you covered it pretty well. Osprey Oriole Lake is also involved in the same practice of sacred reciprocity with the earth, and also an amazing global pollinator and relationship weaver, and very much in tune with trying to restore and regenerate the earth from a feminine perspective.
Yeah.
So, and she also wrote a beautiful book which came out last year, which kind of tells the story of her own odyssey. And it also has a deeply, I would say, mystical undercurrent. You know, she's someone who's very much kind of in the world, and yet there is this
Oh, for sure.
synchronicity
For
and
sure.
yeah, that I would like to get at with her.
Yeah.
So Cynthia, thank you so much. What a pleasure and honor and a delight to be with you today.
It's my pleasure too. And I just was writing back into the chat because I haven't really been able to follow the chat, but I really am curious where this wants to go. And I am feeling very engaged by this conversation and by knowing, what you may have talked about with the others. And so please let me know. I have to go to another appointment now, but I would really love to know what happens in this after party, and also if you can share the chat with me, just so I can see, if there's anything there, and just really want to encourage everyone to keep in touch and, keep this conversation alive, keep the spirit moving through us in the right direction.
Yeah. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Jennifer. By the way, Jennifer, I want to salute you. You have brought together the most elegant constellation of intelligences this week that I could possibly imagine. I mean, you have good taste.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank you too, Jennifer. It's really been a joy to do this with you, and I hope we can do more. And I'm just so honored to be part of the little group that you've, brought together. So it feels very potent and really so deeply.
Okay, everyone, that'll do it for us for today. You'll see the link in the chat box. You received the link to the after chat in your Zoom reminders, and we'll see you tomorrow for our final session of 2024 and the final session of our program on writers writing the world. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now. Thank you, Cynthia.